Hello everyone, welcome back to Chemical Process Design course video with me Anggit Raksajati. In this video, I'm going to present you the case definition of our third case study, which is condensate extraction. So natural gas is one of the primary energy source used today to meet the energy needs as a raw material for the petrochemical industry such as ammonia or methanol and its derivatives. Natural gas produced from the reservoir often contains heavy hydrocarbon fractions such as C5 plus or C6 plus that are commonly separated, known as a condensate or a natural gas liquid. So separation of a condensate from natural gas is carried out through a condensation process, which can be carried out using various process principles. This separation is done because the condensate contains a liquid hydrocarbon that has a high cell value. So this is the location of the natural gas liquids recovery. So it is after the dehydration process or the removal of the water and other impurities such as mercury, CO2, and H2S. So this is the third case study. We have a source of natural gas available at following conditions. Pressure is around 700 psig, the temperature is around 120 degree of Fahrenheit, and the compositions, this is the hydrocarbon contains from methane to C7 plus, and the impurities will be mostly CO2 at around 2.77% and nitrogen at around 0.77%, and we don't have H2S at this point because, as explained in the previous slide, it's already separated in the upstream process. But be careful, you can look at this composition that it doesn't contain water, but that's not because it's not actually contains water, but this is coming from a GC or a gas chromatography, which is a dry basis, so we have to add water at the saturated condition. The condensate fraction will be extracted by partial condensation. There are three process alternatives for this purpose. The first one is mechanical refrigeration base. So it will involve very low temperature conditions or cryogenic, maybe using some refrigerant such as a propane. The second one is using a JT expansion base, Joule-Thomson expansion. So as you probably learned in thermodynamics, Joule-Thomson expansion means it's an isenthalpic expansion. So because of the expansion process, the temperature will goes down as well, and hopefully some of the heavy hydrocarbon will be condensate. And then the third option would be turbo expander base. So this is isentropic expansion process. Again, expansion, we hope to decrease the pressure as well decreasing the temperature so that some of the heavy hydrocarbon will condense. And you will be asked to prepare the preliminary process configuration of each alternative to meet the following specification. So the gas residue has to contain at least 1000 BTU per standard cubic feet, and it has to be sent minimum at 700 psig. So if you let down some of the pressure, you have to recompress it later. Okay, and the temperature has to be at most 120 degree Fahrenheit. The condensate products has to be able to meet this condition. The stability usually expressed as RVP or the rate vapor pressure. At 100 degree F, the RVP has to be 12 psia. Okay, so in this video I will only explain to you the basic fundamental about the three proposed alternatives, and in the next video I will help you step by step to make the simulation for the first option, the mechanical refrigeration. So the reference for this case study can be obtained from GPSA or the Gas Processing Supplier Association, especially chapter 16. For mechanical refrigeration, again, in thermodynamic terms, this is isobaric cooling. Okay, so we can also make the envelope diagram from HYSYS later. For example, a PT diagram such as shown in this slide, or can be expressed as pH diagram, TS diagram, etc. Because this is isobaric cooling, it is expressed as pressure versus temperature. It's isobaric, so the horizontal line, because it's at constant pressure, but because of the temperature decrease, it will be sent inside of the envelope. So that means we will have a two-phase stream, vapor and liquid. So once we achieve this target, achieve this condition, we can send it, let's say, to a flash separator, so that the gas, the residue gas, can be recovered, while the heavy hydrocarbon can be recovered as a condensate. In terms of the process configuration, there are at least 4 options that we can use. This is again coming from the GPSA section 16. So there are type A, type B, type C, and type D. Okay, in the first sim over here, the gas is cooled using the cold stream from the cold separator. Okay, so the gas, that's the internal heat recovery using a gas-gas exchanger. That's the gas from the cold separator, a very cold temperature, before it's sent as the residue gas. We pre-cooled the inlet gas over here, and then we pre-cooled the same stream from the bottom, or the liquid from the cold separator, which is the condensate, the unstabilized condensate. Okay, and then if we haven't achieved the low temperature, for example minus 30 degrees C, we can send it further to the gas chiller. This is where the mechanical refrigeration happens. Okay, so we contact the gas with the refrigerant, for example a propane, and the propane will have its own refrigeration cycle, including a compressor, condenser, expansion in GT valve, and evaporation. And then because of the cold temperature, the heavy hydrocarbon will goes down. So, and then it's being preheated before it's sent to the fractionator, or we can also call it as a condensate stabilizer column. Why? Because at this stream it's still unstabilized, it hasn't met the RVP at 12 psia, it still contains some light gas compound. So the purpose of this condensate stabilizer is to add the heat and then contact the gas liquid, so that the condensate from the bottom of the condensate stabilizer will be at the required specification, below 12 psia of RVP, while the residue gas will be sent to the top and then recompress if it's lower than the delivery pressure, and then sent to the residue gas, or even sent to the inlet gas. So that's first option. The second option, there will be some variation in the heat integration purpose, so you can take a look the detail. For example, now the gas chiller location versus the gas exchanger slightly differs. In this case, we don't recover the cold temperature from the bottom of the cold separator. So that's the main difference. The cold separator in the type A is sent to the gas feed exchanger. Meanwhile, in the type B, the bottom of the cold separator is directly sent to the condensate stabilizer column. You can also notice that in type A and type B, it's not a rigorous distillation or a typical distillation for the fractionator column. Why? Because we only have a reboiler, while we don't have any condenser at the top of the condensate stabilizer. It is called as a reboiled absorber. We don't have a condenser. Okay. So that's the heat integration. That's the heat integration for the type B refrigeration cycle. So this is the type C and the type D. The main difference between type C and type A is the configuration of the condensate stabilizer. So previously in type A and type B, it is called a reboiled absorber, because we don't have a condenser at the top. But for a type C, now we have a complete rigorous distillation. We have a condenser, we have a reflux accumulator, and you can see that the bottom, the liquid will be sent completely to the column. It is called a full reflux configuration. Okay, so it's a partial condensation, but all of the liquid will be sent back to the column. That's why it's called full reflux, while the gas will be sent back to the recompressor to the residue gas stream to be sold. Meanwhile, the heat configuration is very similar to the heat integration in the type A refrigeration type. Okay. And usually this design has the highest liquid recovery efficiency, but has a higher cost due to the overhead system added. And in the next video, I will help you step by step to develop this type C simulation. The fourth variation can be used where the cold separator liquid can be pumped and the stabilizer run at an elevated pressure. So this will eliminate the need for a recompressor, but this may be limited to a certain application, not very generic. Okay, in this case, again, the cold separator will be pumped or pressurized, so we'll get high pressure, and then the unstabilized condensate sent to the condensate stabilizer column again to get the stabilized condensate, because it's already at high pressure because of those pump. Now we get a high pressure condensate, and the top of the fractionator also at high pressure, so we don't need a compressor over here. Again, this may be limited for some specific application. The second main option will be the JT expansion, Joule-Thomson expansion. In thermodynamic terms, this is an isenthalpic expansion process. Okay, so in order to effectively use the JT process, usually there will be some limitation. The gas must be at high inlet pressure, maybe at above 1000 psia in this kind of facility. So in our case, the pressure is still around 700 psia, so we have to first compress it above 1000 and then later expand it. Okay, if you look at the envelope chart, this is the location of our feed, okay, at 700 psia. So as you can see that if we directly expand using a valve or JT valve, it is expressed as pH envelope diagram enthalpy. So if it's isenthalpic expansion, it will be a vertical line to the below chart. Okay, in this case you see that it's very limited in terms of the envelope chart. We can't really produce a lot of liquid because it's still very close to the blue line, the saturated line. That's why it will be recommended for us to compress the gas from 700 to above 1000. So it will be somewhere along this area, and then once we expand it at higher pressure to 700 bar, we will get inside of the envelope and we can get the condensate. So in terms of the configuration, that is the JT valve, just like a typical control valve. The third option would be to use the turbo expander configuration. In this case, a turbo expander is isentropic expansion. That means during the expansion process, the pressure decreases, but the entropy remains constant. You can see the configuration in the left chart of the figure. In this case, the feed first will go into the gas-gas exchanger, and it usually combines with a refrigeration cycle as well. That means it involves some cooling into a very cold temperature or cryogenic condition. After this cooling process, it will be sent to a cold separator where the gas is sent to the expander, and this is the main turbo expander or the isentropic expansion process. So again, if we look at the envelope chart, in this case, express it as a PS chart, pressure versus entropy. From the initial pressure, high pressure of 700 psig, the expander will decrease the pressure, let's say to below 300 or even below that number, and it will enter the inside of the envelope. That means it's a vapor liquid equilibrium. In that case, now we can recover a more condensate or a more liquid heavy hydrocarbon, okay, but at a low pressure. That means after the condensate stabilizer column or the methanizer, now we will get a gas at a lower pressure. That's why after we recovered the cold temperature, it will be sent to a compression, because if we want to sell it at the delivery pressure, it must be already at a low pressure. We have to recompress it before it's combined with the residue gas at 700 psig. So that's it, the main three configuration for this condensate extraction. I will help you in the next video to develop the first case, the type C refrigeration, while the other option will be for you to be performed individually or in a group. Okay, so see you in the next video.